Hey, how's it going, guys? So I decided to go ahead and expand a little bit further on the Destructible Wall tutorial that I was discussing the other day. So I'm actually going to show you how to create a wall that's real tight, but also doesn't move whenever the player interacts with it. So all I've done was just create a basic cube. The mesh collider will need to be set to convex. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to duplicate this little guy. I'm going to move him over here. I'm going to hold down V and snap these two together. I'm going to duplicate both of these. I'm going to do the same thing and snap these in. Then I'm going to select these four, move them up, hold down V. I'm going to snap these right here. I'm going to do this one more time. Let me move these up, and there we go. There is our destructible wall. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this item right here. And let me go ahead and just snap that over here as well. So what I want to do here is I'm actually going to select just this top face, and I'm going to move this up to here. Now I want this to snap onto the wall, so this way it all looks uniform. So I'm going to hold down V and just click on the Y, the green handle for the Y axis. I'm just going to move the mouse over so I can snap it to that. Hold down Shift, move this up. I'm going to then select this wall, hold down Shift, I'm going to move it out. From there, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to hold down V, but this time I'm going to grab the blue handle, which is on the Z axis. I'm going to move it over there so it snaps right there. So from there is what I can do is I can hold down Shift, move that over. Or actually, I don't want this to be convex because I'm not going to be interacting with it. But then lastly, I can select this. I'm going to hold down Shift, move this down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down V, grab the Y axis handle again. I'm going to move it down here. And so now we have our basic destructible wall, and it looks like a regular wall because of the way I've snapped them all together. From there is what we're going to do is we're actually going to select all of these inner cubes in here, and we're going to add a rigid body component. I'm going to set the mass to 100. I will then set the drag to 100 and set the angular drag to 100. And if I move into the scene view, you will see that now, whenever the player runs into it, and you can also see right here inside the scene, but I'm sorry, inside the game view, but you can watch that wall, and the player will run into it. I can jump and try to do that, and nothing's going to happen because it actually has angular drag. The reason why the character is able to double jump because he's actually hitting those colliders in there, which that's okay. You can actually just come in here, and you can actually do a few different things. You can make these walls a little bit thinner. So if I were to take these and grab them and just make them just a hair thinner, about like that, you'll be able to see that there's something odd with the wall, but there's several ways you can do this. I'm just showing you the easiest way that requires virtually no scripting. But even with me moving them in a little bit, you still can't really see it. You might be able to tell a little bit, but as you can see, it's definitely more difficult for me to jump on top of that. So if I grab this and throw it at it, now the problem you're going to see is it's not going to go through. It may dent it and break it a little bit, but it's not actually going through. To fix that is what we will need to do is we'll actually need to add mass to this object right here. So if we change the mass of this rigid body to say 1000, now what's going to happen is when you grab it, it should go right on through that wall. Come on, scraps. There we go. So I'm going to grab this object. I'm just going to throw it at the wall. As you can see, it did go through. We can grab it, and we can pull it back through here. We can do all sorts of things. Now, the reason why those are floating is because of the angular drag. So we'll actually have to go back in here and fix those, which is actually pretty easy to do. So I'm going to change the angular drag. Let's see what happens with 1. In fact, I'm going to come up here. I'm just going to hover over here so I can see what's going on with this wall whenever I hit play. Come on, Unity, you can do it. There we go. So the wall is not moving, and that is good. I'm just going to set this down over here. I'm going to try to jump through it. Nothing. Okay. And if this doesn't work, then it's going to be with the angular drag. So I'm going to throw this through. Yeah, so the angular drag is what's keeping it up right now. The problem is when you tweak both of these numbers way down, and I'm going to just hit play, that's the only issue you're going to have. In fact, if I stop playing the game and go back into the game, you'll see the wall will just kind of collapse on its own weight. And no, actually it's not collapsing on its own weight. I'm actually kind of shocked. I figured it would. Oh, that's why. My bad, guys. So the wall doesn't quite collapse on its own weight. Let me go ahead and try to jump into it. Oh, there it goes. So the easiest way to fix that is just to make it wider. So if I have all these selected, and I do, I can just simply make them wider like so. And then whenever I come back in here and play the game, it should stay holding up. The only thing I'll have to do is, in fact, I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to quit playing the game, and then I'm going to actually reset those component values. So if I come in here, I'm going to set the drag to 1 and then hit play. And you can also do this through scripting. I will get into that here in just a little bit. So there we go. The wall is holding. I can jump into it, and it doesn't even move. I think it actually just kind of laughed at me a little bit just now. But I can go ahead and grab this now and throw it at it, and you can see that the wall does indeed collapse. And so now you're able to kind of get through here. You actually just take this box and do that with it. So that's one option that you can do. You can also set all these values to 100. 100. We are going to create a C# script for this. We're going to make this thin. And is what we're going to do. Let me go ahead and just come up here. I'm going to create C# script, and this is just going to call wall behave or behave. And so inside this script, once I get it to load, yeah, we're only at the 7-minute mark, so I'll show you how to do this real quick. Is what we want to do is we're going to want to call this by a tag, and I'm just going to call it box. You know, I'm not going to be saying anything too terribly specific. I'm going to keep it pretty simple. If this would ever load. So right here is what we want to do. I'm going to get rid of all this, and we need to call the rigid body. So I'm going to type in public, and we're going to call rigid body RB. That's just what I'm going to call it. And start. I'm going to type in RB equals RB.getComponent, and the component type we're getting is of the rigid body. So is what this is doing is this is what I want. I want the rigid body. This is the name of what I'm calling. So you can literally change this name to whatever you want. It can be called shoe, it can be called sock, it can be called cup, as long as your spelling down here is the same. The reason why we need to call it inside the start method group is because of the fact that we're calling the rigid body, which the name we've assigned to it is RB, and RB will equal RB.getComponent rigid body. If you don't have this, it will not stay inside the inspector whenever you start. So that's why we have to do that through the start method group. So right here I'm going to say on trigger enter, and I'm going to say if let's just say other.gameObject.tag equals explode box. Then is what we're going to do is we're going to say rb.angularDrag equals 1, and we're going to say rb.drag equals 1. And now that we've done that, we can go ahead and save this script. Now, this script is going to be attached to the destructible wall. It has to be attached to individual items of the wall, and it will make sense here in just a minute why. But what we need to do is we now need to create a tag called explode box, and spelling is very important. So right here I have a capital E and a capital B. But before I jump to that, you have always have your parentheses no matter what function or method group you create. So if I were to create a, say, type public void open, now inside of these parentheses you can actually have parameters just like you can up here. So if this was, say, I was creating a parameter for int number, then the way that this would work is I'd actually be calling this down here. And that's why all these method groups have parentheses, because you can actually call certain, I guess you'd say, variables inside of them. In this case, we're actually calling the collider component of the onTrigger enter, and the name of that collider component is called other. That's why we have to have this right here, which is other.gameObject. So it's the collider of the game object, and the tag has to equal explode box in this case. So So that's basic scripting 101, if you will. But now is what we need to do. If I were to throw the box at it, nothing would happen. It would be the most boring thing you would ever see. Well, maybe not the most boring, but it would be pretty boring. So all of these are set to 100, which is exactly what we want. And we're going to add our script to this. And now we need to drag the rigid body down here. So this way, the component RB, which is a component type of rigid body, will be able to call this. The only downside is all these say cube 15, and we don't want that. So we're actually going to have to assign the individual cubes to them. Now, there are several ways you could do this. I'm just choosing to do it this way. And I may speed this part up. I don't know. If not, fast forward a little bit till you see me grabbing like, 13 or 14. Wait a minute. Okay, there we go. And that is 4. Okay, excellent. Excellent. So how are y'all doing this lovely Tuesday morning, 9 minutes before our live lecture? I hope y'all are doing well. I am doing excellent. I've had 3 cups of coffee, and I got my car lined. And still didn't quite drive straight, but that's because I need new sway bar links, which I kind of already seen that one coming a mile away. But anyways, back to the tutorial, because this right here is just the frame. So, explode box. I'm going to click on this bad boy. I'm going to come down here, add tag, and I'm going to click on the plus over here. And the tag name I'm going to call this is going to be called explode box. I'm going to save that. I'm going to come back over here, click on this box, click on the tag, explode box, and now we get to see the magic start happening. So I'm going to let Unity load. And we have our wall over there. Watch this. If I can press the right keys, I'm going to throw it. It didn't do anything. That is weird. Did I type it correctly? That is the next question. So I'm just going to double click on this, Control C. I'm going to come back over here. And I'm going to go in here to add tag. Okie dokie. EXPLD box. So I got that typed correctly. That is weird. That should have... Oh, Jimmy, you idiot. Okay, that's my bad. It needs to be on collision enter. And because we're calling collision, we can't call it collider, so we have to actually call collision. I am sorry, you guys. I should have seen that one a mile away. I didn't. I screwed up. If y'all caught that mistake, yay! Y'all caught the mistake. The mistake that Mr. Guru Scripter over here screwed up on. So now check this out. Look at that. They actually just fly right through, and these actually stay up. So that is how you can actually create a simple physics script. And as you can see, each time I hit one of these, they actually, the physics behind it actually moves appropriately. So, yeah! So, okay, so that's going to be a simple, easy way with minimal scripting on how to set up a destructible wall, setting up the right width, and giving it the right kind of physics. And, in fact, if we come in here into the scene view, I'm not going to stop playing the game, because if I do, it'll go back to normal. But if we click on one of these, you can see that now it actually has a proper physics behind it. You can actually do this by... There's several ways you can set this up. It doesn't have to be with squares. You can actually come in here. Let me go and just show you this real quick. So, we can actually come in here. And we can come... you can't see my Pro Builder window. Let me go and just drag this over here. So you can actually click on one of these edges, and you can go ahead and insert an edge loop. We'll go over here, and you can actually start like really tweaking these. So if we tweak it like this, there we go. Let me go ahead and duplicate this. And the reason why we want to duplicate it is because I want to bring this one out. I want to click right here and bring this one out. And is what we will do is we're actually going to select these faces, and I'm going to, no, these faces. Why are you selecting those faces? How dare you mock me? There we go. I'm just going to select these faces. I'm going to hit backspace. And I actually want to select this edge, and we're just going to come over here to fill hole. From there, I can come over here. Because I've already deleted this upper section, I can go ahead and, I can click right here, right here, right here, and right here. I'm going to delete those as well. And then after that, I can click on the edge, and I'm going to do the same thing, fill hole. And so from there is what I can do. If I select the right thing, I can move it over here. And I want these to line up. So I'm going to hold down V. I'm just going to snap that right there. I'm going to shift select this one, and I'm actually going to hold V down over here and snap it in place. And as I move this window out of the way, you see that all these components still have the same, they still have the same, I guess you'd say, value. So that one's a 9. This one is actually going to be a 17 because it's copied over its own component. But now, when we hit play, that one in particular will actually break and go into different segments. And the more segments you add, the more realistic it's going to look. So if I come over here and throw this, see how now you actually had those two halves go flying apart? And so you can set this up any way you want to give it that extra little bit of realism. But I'm going to go ahead and stop the tutorial there. I hope that this tutorial has helped you out immensely. Until next time, I shall see y'all later.